Good morning, folks. Welcome to another week of The Sense of Things with Jeff and Ron. This week's show, we've got This Week in History that Ron does. We're going to be talking a little bit about business survival rates. Ron's got some great stuff on earnings, S&P earnings, and S&P net margins. I'm going to cover a little bit in some of the things that have come out this week economic-wise. We're going to cover a little bit on jobless claims, which came in this morning, the ADP employment report, which came out yesterday, and then a little bit about one that people really haven't talked much about, the ISM Manufacturing Index. So stay tuned. We'll be right back on in just 1 second. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Ron, how are you, my friend?
Good morning. It's the big golf tournament here this weekend,
Oh,
the Phoenix Open. It's the running of the dudes. This is the one where hole 16 gets all crazy. They had some guy last year. He wasn't a streaker, but he was basically just had a Speedo on, goes and does a somersault in a sand trap and does a snow angel in the sand trap. That was
okay.
last year, or it's 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Yeah, I'm going on
Phoenix
Sunday
is
to
a
check it out, but
Phoenix is
it's pretty
unique.
busy here. I think this is like the first major tournament of the season.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you'd be streaking and diving into the sand there if it was the summertime,
Oh, it's
120 degree.
81, 82 degrees here the last few days in the afternoon.
Beautiful.
And by the
Yeah,
way,
I'm
people that are
sure.
doing that don't really care what the weather is.
That's probably true. Yes. I have to check. We usually do a little update on the Hairy Man Festival here in Cedar Park. I don't know exactly when that's coming up, but we do have the world's hairiest men here in the Hairy Man thing. So,
Love it.
all right. What happened this week in history?
All right, here we go. So, actually, some interesting things. It started out slow and then it added up quite a few other good things.
Hmm.
1468,
Oh,
Gutenberg died. He's the one
yeah.
that invented the printing press.
And printed the Bible first.
There you go. 1789, George Washington was
Okay.
unanimously elected President of the United States, rejects king as his title. And this is what I thought was interesting. The government of the United States officially began, right, too long after he was unanimously elected. So if you think about it, this was 13 years
After the
after the
American
American
Revolution. Yeah.
Revolution started that essentially our government was effectively we began in place.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was 13 years of just absolute doom and destruction during that time period because all the states wanted to be basically their own individual little worlds, and it was a mess. The
Actually, and I was
Articles of
reading, I mean,
Confederation.
it was like a deep dive into this stuff, and it was just very interesting on how some states didn't want, they wanted to be their own country. They didn't want to be a part of it, but I think they were all browbeaten into it.
And the
Like I said, it was
interesting
pretty
part,
interesting.
yeah, the interesting part of that March 4th, that actually, it wasn't that he was elected president and then he became president immediately. Now we have the November election, and by January, they have the Electoral College. The president didn't actually take seat until March 4th at that time because it took so long for the Electoral College to get together and get all their stuff
And
done.
it
So
was
it was,
interesting. Do you know how many electoral votes? I can't remember the exact number, but I know what it was about. You know how many I
yeah,
think, don't hold me, it was plus or minus 70.
yeah,
Now it's
yep.
270.
And he was the last president ever unanimously elected president. So,
Yeah, it was good. All right. Samuel Clemens in 1863 begins reporting as
Mark
Mark
Twain.
Twain. And it was an interesting story how he came up with
Mhm.
name because he was a fisherman and he would mark the Twain, something with the in the fish in the water. I don't know. That's how he came up with the name.
Now,
1870.
actually, he was a steamboat captain. Yep.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The 15th Amendment was ratified in 1870, guaranteeing the right to vote no matter their race, except for women.
Except when.
And
Yeah.
that didn't happen for another 50 years.
It just, yeah.
1913, the 16th Amendment was ratified, granting the Congress the authority to levy income taxes.
And
And I
it went
believe
downhill from there.
1913, we talked about this last time, was when the central bank was established. 1913 again,
Okay.
Grand Central Terminal opens in New York City. Most people refer to it as Grand Central Station. It is not. It is Grand Central
Terminal.
Terminal because that's where it ends. And I don't know if you've ever been there. I've been there many times in and out of New York. By far, one of the most beautiful buildings,
Mhm.
architecture wise. It is an amazing place. People will just go there for lunch. I've done that with
Yeah.
somebody too. And it's a happening, I got to tell you. So, people on the West Coast Central, if you've never been, you
Yeah,
got to go.
yeah, I've seen it. I just have never had the opportunity to go there.
You know what?
And
And look,
my current, yeah,
you go on to PBS, they got some documentaries on it about some of the things that have happened there. It's pretty amazing.
yeah,
1941, my father was born. He just turned 85 on
nice.
Tuesday, so I figured I'd
Tell him
give him a
happy
little
birthday
shout
for
out.
me.
Yeah. 1950, Truman announces the H-bomb development.
Okay.
Probably one of the most calmest demeanor presidents we've ever had. Dropped two big ones and then
Mhm.
announced the H-bomb. So
Yes.
1959, the day the music died. Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the
Buddy,
Big Bopper died in a plane crash. And what was the
yesterday.
famous
And
song and who was it by?
Don McLean, the day the music died.
There you go. 1974, Patty Hearst kidnapped by the SLA, the
Yep.
Symbionese, some made up Liberation Army BS.
Yes.
1974,
Oh,
Blazing Saddles premieres this week, which could
the
never be
greatest.
made today.
No, not even remotely close. But the thing that people just don't understand about Mel Brooks is he was an equal opportunity offender.
Yep, same with Don Rickles. Here's the interesting thing.
And
Mel Brooks turns 100 this year.
yep.
I think it's in the second half of the year he turns 100.
So
But the
I will
amazing
say
thing about
two
Blazing
things.
Saddles is the studio didn't even want to send this thing through. It was just everything that was in there. They were cutting it up. They wanted them to take things out. But like I said, it could never be made today. Now it's been on TV twice in the last couple of months. I haven't seen it from the beginning to end. I saw it at two different parts, and I'm like, oh God,
Yeah.
there's no way this would ever make it.
And,
Anyway,
and even on TV, they're cutting out parts of it.
absolutely. Okay, so if there were 100 businesses born a year, how
Okay.
many would survive? Now,
All
there's been a
right.
lot of statistics behind this, a lot of studies, and you can see just like even in the first year, one
Hmm.
fifth don't even survive in the first year. By the time you get to year five, basically half are gone.
Yep.
By the time you get to year 10, two-thirds are gone. And this is for a variety of things. I think number one, not everybody is built to be an entrepreneur. And
Nope.
number two, everybody thinks the grass is greener. I'm just going to keep showing up to do what I was doing before, but I own the business now. They have
Yeah.
no idea what happens behind the scenes administratively, legally, liability, making payroll. Nobody.
Yep.
Just think it's interesting. What are your thoughts?
No, I can completely tell you that from running a co-working space for the last 10 years. I can completely tell you watching people, it usually is, I would say the year two, they show a bunch of them dipping off after year one, but I would say year two is where you really see the bulk of them because year one, it's like it's still fun. You're not making any money, but it's still fun because you're controlling your world. Year two, it starts to just suck. And it's what I call the suck about halfway through that second year where I see a ton of people just bail out because now it's hard and I'm not making any money.
And that stat on year five, I heard that 20 years ago. 50% of the
Yep.
businesses fail within 5 years. So that
I
stat really hasn't changed much.
No, and I don't foresee that changing anytime soon.
No, not at
Yeah,
all.
and it's
All right, getting into some data. So we've had a lot of earnings coming out,
mhm.
most of it good. The
Yeah.
sell-off, I think, is profit taking. We were talking about that before.
Yep.
But here's the net margin. So if you take a look on the left, Q4 2025, the highest in the last 5 years.
Margin
So
expansion.
it's
Yeah.
not like they're making money. That's one of the
Yep.
reasons why it's going up. Profits are the money, the mother's milk
Mhm.
of why these stocks have the values that they do, many of them.
Yeah. And I think the important part there is profit margin. Not just profits, increasing profits, but margins are increasing. And they have been really for the last, I would say, year and a half. They've been consistently increasing. That's what I was telling you. I was looking at AMD because I've got clients in AMD and their profit margin went, and this is a big ass company, went from 45 to 58 in one quarter, and they're just getting punished. So yeah,
Yeah.
you got to look past what the market's doing and look at what these companies are doing, and it's really fantastic.
Yeah, and look at the by sector. I got to tell you,
Yeah.
I knew you knew tech was going to be there. I didn't understand why real estate had such a high margin because prices have been coming down. Now I know in
Mhm.
the higher end, the luxury oriented homes, they always have margin, but that's surprised me a little bit year over year that it's down a little bit year over year, but it's still the highest one out of all the sectors.
But is that real estate per se commercial? I would think that's more commercial real estate. This would be
I think
REITs.
it's the whole industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not only that too,
It's,
but we've been talking about this for a while. Consumer discretionary. Look at the far right with the consumer
yep.
staples. Their margins are
Are
contracting.
not great.
Tariffs are
Yeah.
affecting
Healthcare.
them. Input costs are affecting them. Labor is affecting them. And that's why my Oreo cookies keep getting smaller
Yep.
with less vanilla on the inside.
Yeah.
That's what
That's
happens. The
well,
Reese's peanut butter cups are getting smaller too. I'm very
I
frustrated by
love
this.
I love the bags of chips. Oh, you have the party size, and I'm like, that's what used to be the normal size.
Oh no, but open up that party size. It's two-thirds air.
Yeah, of course.
So I thought this was interesting. And then what we're
Yeah.
going to do is look at earnings growth.
Hmm.
And obviously, 2024 into 2025 were just big, big earnings growth years.
Sure.
But now look on the right side for earnings growth. You have tech number one, and by
Hmm.
far. But
Yeah.
now look at real estate where they are for
Industrials.
earnings growth. They're in the back half.
Yeah.
So how are they growing, but have the highest net margin? This
Mm.
was the divergent I just didn't make much sense out of.
Yeah. It's interesting on the industrials too. I'm seeing that just because remember we had that sleeve this year that were industrials and natural resources, and industrials are just off to the freaking races right now. And I mean, if you look in behind the scenes of industrials, because there's, God, I want to say 20 different industries or 20 different components to that industrials. And across the board, I can't remember one being down right now.
Yeah.
So we are off to the races. And this will dovetail into what we'll talk about here in a few minutes about the economic side of it too.
Yeah. And with the industrials too, that's not sustainable for earnings growth
Mm,
at some point. That will be in the middle of the second half, no doubt about it.
mm.
All right, what
Yeah.
do you got?
Let's take a look here real quick because we've gotten a lot of data this week. And I think starting yesterday, one of the big ones was the ADP report. And we've talked about ADP before. I'm not sure how much credence I put into ADP at this point.
No.
It's been good, but it's been also not so great. Prior week was revised down, or prior month was revised down from 37,000 or to 37,000 from 41. The consensus this month was 45. It came in at 22 yesterday. And so that spooked the market, which I still don't understand because the market's been worried that the Fed isn't going to drop interest rates. This is employment's one of the big things. So the market shouldn't be shocked. They should be happy about this. But
Yeah, Jeff, do me a favor, make your screen like 3 to 5 times bigger.
better?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. So that was one. Then today, what shocked the market a little bit was jobless claims. So,
Yeah.
we've been talking about joblessness and it's been running around 200 to 210, somewhere around there. Consensus was 212. It came in at 231. So that, of course, shocked the market again this morning, which, once again, if you are a believer that the Fed is data dependent, this should be a good thing in your eyes,
Yes.
and the market shouldn't be crazy. But the market's crazy right now.
Yes.
Here's the interesting one that I saw earlier this week, and this is one that it's been not great. And I think this dovetails into your industrials piece. ISM Manufacturing Index has been pretty much below 50 for going on almost a year and a half, 18 months at this point.
Yeah, that's
Came in,
contraction. Yeah.
yeah, came in at 52.6, which if you look at the actual report, which this is available, I'll put the link to this in the show notes. This is the actual report off of ISM. And here's the interesting thing. So the index up at 52.6, there's several components. So you can see back to 2024, it really hasn't gotten above 50. There was one little peak above it, but it's pretty much stayed below 50. 50 is the point where we go into growth. Anything below that is contraction. If you look at the individual components, manufacturing's up, new orders are up a lot, and these came out of contraction. Production is up, employment is down, which kind of dovetails into what we're seeing. I think part of this is this employment figure being in a contraction is I think there's a lot of AI that's being brought into a lot of these businesses, especially in manufacturing and robotics, that you're just not getting the big boost in employment there.
Yeah.
And really pretty much across the board. Customer inventories were down a little bit in contraction. Everything else was pretty much up and above the December number and into January here. What's your thoughts?
I got to tell you, I'm going to push back on the AI replacing jobs
Hmm.
as like a major factor.
Yeah.
I still think that is 3 to 5 plus years away, probably 5 years away. I
Hmm.
just think it's just contraction in the marketplace. I think people, oh, we all know people overhired in COVID. And
Yep.
I think as companies grew, they're realizing, hey, we're going to cherry pick the good ones. Let's get rid of others. Or don't forget, there's been a ton of M&A too.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying AI hasn't had some impact on it, but a significant impact. I've been pushing
Hmm.
back on that for a while.
Yeah. I think there's as far as the in the manufacturing space, I think robotics are more in the manufacturing space. I can see robotics being more than the AI side. I would say the AI effect on employment is going to be that middle management of
Yeah.
people that are in there. You're seeing that with Amazon. Amazon's looking at their middle management and they're eliminating a lot of that middle management because a lot of that can be replaced by AI. I think it's cherry picked throughout. I really think, quite frankly, in the employment side on manufacturing, it's going to be more from the robotic standpoint. And you got to think a lot of these new factories that are being built and everything, you got to imagine that a lot of that is going to be built with newer technologies and robotics and all that. I don't necessarily see this major boost in manufacturing necessarily creating a lot more manufacturing jobs per se.
Yeah, I get it. And look, and robotics, that's been replacing people for 60 years,
It
70
has, yeah,
years, and that's
yeah,
only going to continue. That's
yeah.
just going to get bigger and
Well,
bigger.
you just look at an Amazon delivery, the Amazon delivery centers now. Really, the only humans are there just to make sure the robots don't break down. But a vast majority of the moving stuff around and getting it to the packing areas is all done by robots.
Yeah, pick, pack,
Yeah,
and
pick and
ship.
pack. That's it. They're doing all that work, and you don't hurt people doing that. You have the humans where they need to be. And the funny part is watching. I had to drop off something at Amazon at close to one of their warehouses, and I'm laughing because there was just this line of those Amazon blue vans, literally a mile long line of those Amazon blue vans wrapping around this building. And you go around the backside, and it's literally they pull up, they have this little rack that they just take and jam into the truck, and that one's off, and the next one comes up, and it's just this never ending group of those Amazon vans going through there. So that's where the humans are. Until they figure out how to have self-driving, self-delivery vans, I think there's going to be humans involved in that part.
Have in Austin, have you guys got Waymo there yet? Because
We
it's been here
do.
for a while. I know Austin was one of their test cities.
Yeah, it was this was the test city for them, and they were having all kinds of issues because apparently the AI in them. Yeah, I get what it was doing. The AI in them, when a school bus would come up, they have that little thing that pops out of the side with a stop sign.
Yeah.
So the Waymos were coming up, they would stop, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, it's a regular stop sign," and then they would go before the thing
Oh,
went down. So they're like, we got to reprogram that a little bit. If it's a bus and it has a stop sign, you need to stay stopped. Yeah, because the kids would get off the bus and then the dang car would go and take off. So,
Yeah, I had a friend in from the East Coast with his family over the Christmas break, and he was visiting his dad, and
mm,
I took him a couple of places, and they were like, "What is that?"
yeah,
I'm like, "That's Waymo."
yeah,
They all took out their cameras to take pictures
to
and
take
videos
pictures.
of it because they
Well,
don't have it back in Philadelphia.
they had so many weird little issues with them when they were here. I remember when they first came out and were testing them, there was a whole bunch of Waymos that were close to the UT
Right.
game. And somehow, like when the UT game let out, there was all these people walking around, and all the Waymos just got stuck on the street and they just wouldn't move at all. So they were blocking up the whole street and everything. So they've gotten better. It's the future, but I don't think it's there yet. Tesla's testing theirs here
It's
in
big
Austin.
here. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say it is huge here,
Yeah.
and it's getting bigger. And I got to tell you, a lot of people are using it over Uber and Lyft. I'm a Lyft guy, but
All I can say
it's
is
getting a lot of traction.
after having a conversation with one of my guys that works out of my space that does driver's testing, and he does it for a lot of people that are new immigrants to the country. He was like, yeah, Uber, yeah, I talked to these guys because they'll drive up here in their car to take their driver's test. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't really do that. But they're driving for Uber using somebody else's driver's license. And I'm like,
What?
until they get their driver's license, they're driving for Uber. So I'm like, I'm okay with the self-driving thing
Wait,
now.
how can they even do that? Because you need to submit a valid driver's license, pictures of your cars in order
They are
to be an Uber driver.
they're submitting a valid driver's license, somebody else's valid driver's license. Look, I'm okay with this whole self-driving car thing. I know what I'm getting there. I know that I'm not getting somebody who's not even licensed to drive at this point. So,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. All right, let's tell everybody to make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure that you update. Give us an upvote if you like what you're hearing, and we will see you guys back here the very next time.